Okay, hello. I am recording a video because I see people talking about mapping formats, and I cannot resist but to do it myself. So, feel free to make use of this or not. I just want to go through the process in case it is of help to someone. And I'm sure Drop-Off will enjoy it regardless. So, I've looked at this a little bit, but I don't know. Let's just get into it. The number one thing I notice here is that you can notice a very obvious pattern just looking at the text view. You know, we have these three strings. By the way, I don't know anything about Armored Core, so I have no context for anything here. But, you know, it's pretty obvious that whatever this is, it's the same structure as whatever this is. And so you can identify that visually and just verify. Let's see, I've got a selection of length 1A4. Well, let's check to the next one. Hey, look, it's also 1A4. Let's check some random one down here. Now, this one is 1B0, which is certainly interesting. But I notice this one is 2OC. So what I'm thinking about now is, are these different length structs? Like, you know, is there some set of, you know, 5 or 10 or however many predefined structures, or are these structures variable length? I don't know. I guess one way I could check that, let's compare these things. They're all Kojima rifles, so you would presume these would be the same length if they are the same thing. 1C8, 1C8, 1C8. We have a blade, which is also 1C8. So it kind of feels like I'm noticing a pattern of these things that are identified as weapons being the same size, 1C8, 1C8. So that might mean something, or it might not. Now we have this one as a 2OC, but these are missiles, which I presume are some... This is where having some actual context would help. I presume a missile is something that's like mounted on the AC, not that you hold. So here, let's check our assumption. This should be 1C8. And this should be whatever the other size was, I don't recall. 2OC. Okay, so it still could be either way, but you can notice a pretty clear delineation that the parts that you hold are one length, and the parts that I assume are mounted on the dude are a different length. But that may very well be circumstantial, so I don't feel like I'm gonna gain a lot more information from looking at this, although I do notice, let me check this, there's some funky ones that don't seem to have any text at the bottom here, which is interesting. So these are still missiles, 2OC, 2OC. This one I believe should go up to there. Or maybe I am incorrect. So it would go up to there if that was the same, but this... this is actually a good hint here. Because the question is, I'm measuring all of these from the start of the string to the start of the next string, but obviously that doesn't mean that's the whole size of the structure. Or rather, it's the whole size of the structure, but it doesn't mean it's aligned to the actual start of the structure. And I notice on this one, it's running into what is clearly some kind of blank text field at the end here. So if I believe that this missile structure is 2OC, and I'm gonna, let's say, call it a given that it does not extend into whatever this is, then we can measure backwards from here and find what 2OC is there. Comes up to right here. So this, I hypothesize, is the beginning of the structure, with 10 bytes before the text, and obviously 10 is a very cute number that we like seeing, so that seems pretty promising to me. Of course, well, no, that can't be the case, because then there is no room for this beginning bit on the front of this next thing. Let me see. Let me actually see what these may be something very different that is not immediately obvious. I'm kind of still in just eyeballing mode. You know, it's a matter of judgment how long you spend doing that. I will give you a little spoiler here. Some of this text is shift-JIS encoded Japanese. So we have Atari debug, something debug. Atari debug again. Interesting. Let me check. Obviously, it's hard to tell exactly what is going on here, but I can certainly measure between whatever this is. This is obviously the equivalent thing. These are floats, by the way. I'm almost certain. Let me pull up the inspector. Am I in big mode? I am not in big mode. There we go. Yeah, float 10. You could just kind of... You look at enough floats, you see a 2041, and for some godforsaken reason, you realize that's a float. The mind works in mysterious ways. But, so this structure, whatever it is, appears to be 17C. 1A4, okay. Well, obviously down here in the hinterlands, all bets are off. I'm probably not gonna glean any more relevant information by staring at whatever the fuck is going on down there. So let's stop doing that. So obviously we see the maximum amount of... Well, let me go back to other view. There we are. A bunch of kanji, patsu, ga no masterpiece. Oh. Something about a masterpiece. Wow. But, yeah, but some of this would be easier to understand if I knew anything about the actual video game. But let's... Because, you know, I could immediately associate... Well, I think it's pretty obvious that this is a GA thing, because we see, like, this BFF Patsu something something. I think it's pretty apparent that this long string, which obviously this is a big fat string right here. How big is this? FC. Pretty darn large, I must admit. This is probably just like a description that belongs to this thing. So the absolute... I had a train of thought and then I discarded it. Let's see. The absolute furthest up we can go from the first recognizable feature is OX20 here, right? So this next one here, at the absolute most, or sorry, OX40, my mistake. That's 220s, and that's terrible. So this is the absolute earliest that the next one could start. I mean, that still relies on some assumptions, but sometimes you have to make a bet. Now these look a bit funky. When you see junk like this is not immediately recognizable as a float, but if you see garbage, a lot of the times it is a float. Just an interesting one. So let's see. That looks like a not particularly... Oh, I see. If I do that, you can't see the inspector. Let me put that back. Yeah, okay, never mind. Not floats. I don't know what these are. Although I do... Okay. Shorts, perhaps, because you see the C2OB pattern repeating there. Let me compare. So what I would like to do is find the start of this structure, because obviously this next structure here, it starts somewhere between the end of the string and the start of the next one. So somewhere in here, you know, part of this belongs to that structure and part of it belongs to the next one. But I would like to know how much of which belongs to whomst. So a good way to do that, if I have this, you know, kind of fixed point of comparison, I can look backwards and see. I'm assuming there is some kind of a header at the top of the file. That is not necessarily the case, but it certainly makes things a lot easier if it is. So if we assume that not all of this is part of the first structure, and we start looking backwards, I see this one. There's a nothing, and then there's, well, let's call it 3 ints of something funky, followed by perhaps a few shorts, and whatever this is. And if we compare that up here, this is a very non-scientific method, by the way, but sometimes that's the way things are. I see I have some junk, and it does look fairly shortish, which would correspond to this. But then, of course, this one, if we assume the start of the struct is extending this way, we have some more numbers here, which are not present in the first one. Now that could mean they're just not present in the first one, or that could mean that, you know, the first noteworthy feature I see is, well, let's just hypothetically say it's 6 shorts and an int which happens to be 0, which would be right here. Hypothetically 6 shorts and an int that happens to be 0. If that was the start of the structure, then that would mean that we have, in this case, 3-4 bytes at the end. So if we compare that to the next one, where is 3-4? It's about there. And then we see the same pattern, but we already know that these things are the same length, so this is not really that remarkable. But if we do operate under that assumption, then we get this as the header. And there was some discussion of this in the chat, which I've, you know, not been able to not ingrain in my memory, but I think Dropoff suggested that these may be counts, and that's what I would guess anyways, because, you know, what else are you going to put in a fucking header? You're going to put a magic word, which we don't have, sadly, version number, format indicators, and counts and offsets. In this case, no offsets. We appear to have an actually serialized file. How horrifying. But way it goes sometimes. I don't know why I'm bothering with the formatting today, but it makes my soul hurt if I don't do it. So hypothetically, we have whatever this is, and then we have a lot of shorts. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 shorts even. Oh my god. For now, I'm not going to leave it that way. But just for the sake of getting this actually executing, I will do that. And then I have, I don't know, a short at, this is what, 1E? Yeah. I assume this is nothing, but remember, kids, always assert everything. If you don't, I'll be very upset with you. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. Maybe. I mean, this is why you assert things. I'm trying to get in the habit of using lower cases just because I don't like I don't like holding the shift key. So we have the header. We have the counts. Well, let's try this. Hypothetically, we believe that this first type of structure is of size 1A4. So let's define it. Just going to call it struct A, as is tradition. And what was it? I've already forgotten. 1A4, I believe. Yeah. And I guess we can let that optimize for now. We might wish to change that in a moment, but... Okay, so we're just going to read all of those, and let me actually... Oh yeah, I just reinstalled my entire existence, so nothing is as it should be. Whatever, I'm not going to save this anyway, so what do I care? Let's execute. Wow, color. So if we hypothesize that we are, I mean, obviously, there's literally no way for this to fail, so the fact that it ran does not mean anything, but if we believe that these are counts, and these all appear to be middle parts, we would hope that when we scroll to the end of this, we will see, oh, middle, heavy, light. I assume these are like the core or something. We would hope that the next one after would be something different, but we actually see that it's not, which is interesting. Although I do notice, so this is 1A0. So it's not, again, it would help to actually know anything about Armored Core. You know, just from eyeballing the text, it looks like it's the same sort of thing, but the size does switch here, which is a good sign. So let's just do it again. I believe that this next one, hypothetically, is 1A0. And if we bear that out, we find, yeah. Again, we can verify this, but we can see all of these stay aligned, so the size is not changing anywhere in here. But as soon as we get to the end of it, the size does change. So there you go. I guess I'm going to assume that probably maybe these are like head, body, legs, and the middle here is just like the weight class or something. I don't know. I guess I could try actually seeing what this text says. Badge on something about a version. I don't know. Now here's my next question. If all of these are of variable size, but they also obviously have a lot in common with each other, so where is the variation? I can see, if we just look at the first one, we've got these rather suspicious looking shorts, hypothetically some more shorts, a 0, and then the text. And at the end, let's see, we have one int, or what could be an int, I don't know. in between the two text blocks. Not sure what that's about. And then down here, what are you, I mean, let's pull up the fucking Floato Vision. You'd feel like you might have some floats in here, although it's not looking too floaty, to be honest with you. Oh, that might be. Well, these are obviously shorts again. This looks floaty to me, but it's not. Oh, that's because I'm looking at text, you idiot. You absolute buffoon. So this is all that's, you know, at the end of the struct. Now what I'd like to compare that to is what is at the end of the next struct, which is shorter. Because we've lost 4 bytes, if I recall, up to there it is. It does look rather similar, although, well, you know, you can see the pattern of shorts again. Let's see, if we have indeed lost 4 bytes, maybe it would be informative to look at those bytes in specific. And they are a couple of shorts. Wow. Crazy. What about, let me check. Let me refer to these. So you can see on this one we have a lot. Oh, actually we have an additional string. Huh, isn't that interesting? I didn't notice that before. So I'm going to hypothesize that, yeah, this is an assumption that I'm making right here. I'm going to hypothesize that everything up to the end of the description is common, and then the end is like type data. Otherwise known as variable. It sure looks like it, because obviously this one is rather floatish. And then we would have this. How much of it was there in this one? I forgot already. We have 8C bytes of type data, hypothetically. Here we again have 8C before the start of the next one. It's a bit hard to tell because of the thing over here, but yeah. 8C, as you'd expect. And if we carry that on to this very last one, do we have 8C? We have 9C. Isn't that interesting? 9C, huh? And this is only 9.4. So if this is different... Oh wait, never mind, I'm stupid. I've been trolled. This should go up to there. No, it is 9C. I am stupid. I have been trolled. Oh no. So this one here has a different size than the next one, is basically the point. But what interests me, the reason I'm paying attention to that, is that if this one has a different size than this one, which it certainly appears to, yeah. I'm trying to envision if there's any other explanation for that. But if that is the case, then we should only have like 3. The last counts in the header should just be a very small number. That would confirm some assumptions we've been making. So let's find out. No, actually, the last count in the header is 1.8. which is not ideal, but it is interesting. So what that indicates to me is that it's actually perhaps a combination of factors. I think we have a set number of different struct types, and each of these is a different one of those, but they are not fixed size structs. They can have variable data in them, which is certainly interesting. Now let me just, so the last count here is 1/8, which is some particular number in decimal. I don't know. I'm not a computer. 24. Alright, this is kind of stupid, but I just want to verify something before I waste too much time looking into it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So, hypothetically, this would be the first member of the final list. But that's rather odd, because it seems to be the same kind of thing as the one just above it. Oh, C45 test. Interesting. I am noticing it. It seems like the stuff down here at the bottom is very esoteric. We have a radar and a PA molder and a missile and an add main booster. Like, quite interesting indeed. Well, my so there we are kind of at a point where my assumptions are not entirely holding up, but it's hard to know exactly why. I think what I would like to do now is see how long this pattern holds, because we verified for the first couple structures, they, at least as far as we can tell, they are fixed size. Now, you know, that may be by coincidence or by necessity. We don't know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a little substructure for this lead-in part, whatever it may be. And we may have to adjust this in time, but for now. We hypothesize that this starts off with, you know, I'm not even going to bother differentiating the beginning of it just yet. That can come later. Mostly what I want is to have these strings in here. And I don't know, obviously the description is shift-jis, you know, for most text, ASCII and shift-jis are the same thing. I mean, if you're just using Latin characters anyways, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. So I want a char, I don't know, is it a name? I'm just going to call it stir1. I'm feeling lazy today. Don't follow my example in many regards. That's definitely not how I would leave this when I was done with it. So we have those 3 of those, and then we have, I'm just going to follow my horrific naming convention. And this I believe strongly to be a description. And it is of length. What? FC. Okay. And then we have what we hypothecate to be data. I don't think that's the correct usage of the word hypothecate, but eat my ass. It's my recording. God damn it. So I'm just going to call this, what am I going to call this? I don't know. I will call it part lamau. And let me just change the foreground color to, I don't know, sea light gray, or maybe dark gray is preferable there. Okay. So now let's call this data instead and chop it down to just the 3-4, and we know that this one is 30, otherwise known as 4 less than 3-4. Sorry, not 30, 3-0, as you prefer. Now the reason I'm doing this is because now I can put in a read function, and I'll just write that right here. Actually, I'll write that right exactly where I said I was going to. Lamau. So what I want to do here is, I don't know, what do I want to do here? Good question. Thanks for asking. I don't know, I haven't written a template in a while, so I kind of forget my my patterns for these sorts of things. I would think I want to sprint f into the string with a good old %esh. Yes. It's my Sean Connery impression. Okay, and let me just return that, in fact. Let's see, I actually want part dot, the way I have it set up, I want part dot part. Of course. Why wouldn't I? You fool. Have I done something stupid? Oh, right, because, no, yeah, I forgot how anything works. I can't do that. O10 is not that permissive, unfortunately. Okay, let me just, I think I may need to make some, yeah, I will. I forgot. I'm sorry. Getting a bit boilerplatey here, unfortunately. I could do this in a different way, actually. Which would probably be ideal for... Yeah, you know, I could do that in a different way. Why don't I do that in a different way? So I'm probably going to split these out into their own types later. But since I don't really care about the specifics right now, I can do it this way instead, and just do ubyte data of data length. And I will just, in fact, rather than doing this like that, let me do the classic. C black, C white, so I can see. Ah, C, I get it. Lamau. What's going on? So now, instead of that, I'll just do part A's, and these are what, 3, 4, if I recall. I never remember if this goes before or after the array notation, so that may be incorrect. We'll find out shortly. I'm going to want to not optimize these. And because I'm not optimizing them, I'm going to want to not do that, so I don't blow up the template results. Hate it when I blow up the template results. Okay, that might work. Yes, it does. Lovely. Although it looks hideous. That's fine. That's because I forgot to put the color back on. Again, this is all very provisional right now, but okay. So, in fact, I'm gonna forego the Dick Gray for the moment. There we go. So now, if I want to check the new one, I can quite easily just add. So we believe, at least I believe. You don't have to, but I do. Well, no, I don't, but I'm choosing to behave as if I believe that this has a data length of A8. Let me put that away for a moment. In fact, I don't really need to look at this text right now, so that's fine. So now I can just slap in another one of these. Part C's. A8. And we'll use a nice dark green. And now if we pop these open, we should see... Alright, I forgot to actually put the read function back in. Whoops. Why are these... I think I have forgotten something about how O10 works, and I feel stupid. Maybe there was an update. There might have been an update to O10 while I wasn't paying attention. That would be nice, actually, because this is kind of annoying before. Okay, oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so now we can see our nice text here. I just wanted to do that as a very quick visual indicator, like if any of these get out of alignment, you are going to notice because they are suddenly going to become fucked, right? So I need 13 of these, actually, which is kind of unfortunate. Let me just strip that down like so. So I'm going to need 10 more. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wowee. I'm going to get to use so many letters today. D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M. Unbelievable. 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's all those. And let me just, I'll just do these one at a time because I obviously don't actually know how long the structs are just yet. So this one, let's get into the yellows. And I believe it to, until further notice, occupy exactly C4. Okay. We check that. We see that it looks very cool and cute. We also see a lot of debug parts in here, which I'm sure is of interest to some people. Okay, well, let's check out the next one. I mean, this part is very rote, of course, but I mean, if you've got 13 different structures, then you're gonna make 13 different fucking structures, right? Like, not much you can do about that. Unless there's, well, you know, there may be some insight lacking here, but that's okay. I lack insight on a great many things. This one looks like it's round about 30. Pardon me, 3-0. Okay, looks good. We do notice that some of them are missing strings. I mean, they're not missing, they're just empty. Oh no, they're not empty, they have a dash. I got confused because I put a dash in it. Neat. Okay. Good stuff. But our assumptions are holding true so far. That, you know, I'm a little bit... I feel like the shoe is going to drop at some point, because I know that the ones at the end are doing some weird shit, you know. But we'll press onwards for the time being. So this one, ooh, we got a nice small one here. What are we looking at? We're looking at, oh, 1.4 only? My goodness. I'm gonna run out of colors pretty soon. At least colors that aren't horrible to look at. Okay, well, so here's why I put the text on there, because I can instantly tell that something is wrong here. Which is good, actually. Things going wrong is good because it lets you know that there is something you have not understood. And that something might just be that I counted wrong. Lamau. Okay, I think I see what I did. I think I made a very silly mistake. Yes, I made a very silly mistake. Let's ignore that. Thanks. Okay, work proceeds apace. What am I gonna... I guess I can start back into the reds. It's been a while since the header. What's this next one looking like? It's looking like... roundabout 3-4. Okay. Which does happen to be the same as the first one, but it's unlikely that that means anything. Could though. Ooh. Wait, is that light red, really? Huh. That does, I guess it just looks different when you've got these big empty spaces. It looks a lot more pink than it usually does in the header. Interesting. I'm sure you could make some deep observations about color theory there. But I'll leave that to brighter minds than my own. So this one, again, super monkey mode, just look at the bytes, Elmow. Another 2-4, not 1-4, by the way. How could you possibly think it was 1-4? Looking good. I'm kind of actually annoyed that this is working as well as it is, because I wanted to get to the interesting part at the end, but we'll see when we get there. Okay, another 2-4 actually. Isn't that interesting? Now, it is certainly possible that some of these are the same struct, just split into two lists for unknown reasons. There's no reason that can't be the case, but we shall see, I guess. Or not. We may or may not see. Okay, now we got a 4-0. Somebody's thick today. I believe there is no light aqua, sadly. Oh, there is. I just usually don't use it because it's a bit white. That's okay though. I need all the colors I can get. And next one up. It's Scenic 5.8. A new one, okay. Maybe it's dark aqua that there isn't one of. Oh, I do like. I usually use aqua as my third color. I was missing it. Welcome home, aqua. Alright, well, everything is still going just very unfortunately smoothly. But it can't last forever. Okay, 9. Wow, they're really got the big ones down in here at the end. But I guess these are getting into like weapons, which naturally would have more configuration or whatever. Okay, last one. Yeah, and you can tell that it really does not seem like we have any variable data because everything is still just lining up perfectly. Very odd. Okay, so the last one here, or so it seems, is... Oh, and this is the one with the... We're getting into the ones with the text in them. So if any of these are going to fail, it should be this one. The possibility is that it's not going to fail. There's just going to be some dangling entries at the end of the file, which would be very dissatisfying, but we'll see. Okay, cap it off with a nice... I guess I haven't used purple yet, which is not very... Well, it's a rather saturated magenta sort of thing. Ah, would you look at that? So yeah, we can see even the last list here, they are all perfectly aligned. So yeah, that was the case. The last ones here are... Oh, I should have checked this earlier maybe, but... So, I mean, we can tell that the amount of space allocated for the text at the beginning has been perfectly consistent, so I do believe that to be truly common. Now let's look at this one. This one here, right, this would be the description of this one. We have FC, as expected. The question is, do we have FC on this preceding one? I think, no, well, I can tell actually now that I think about it, we do not. E0. So we're missing 1C bytes. So what happened here is that this file was longer. It went all the way to here. And then they removed a couple entries somewhere, you know, up. I'm pointing upwards. They removed a couple entries somewhere up here. Oh good, you can't see my mouse. They removed a couple entries up there. And so now the file only extends this far. But they did not trim off. They didn't trim down the file to the new size. They just left it at the previous size. But now only this much of it is actually used. This much of it is just garbage that happened to be there from the previous version. And I mean, it's always you always have to be very careful asserting that this data is simply garbage, haha, because that's a great way to lose data. But the clincher here is the truncated description field here. That makes it pretty clear to me that this is part of one struct, which has been written over by the new version of the file, which is kind of irritating, but you know, life is often irritating. So that's good. I feel very confident, actually, in saying that all of these structs are fixed size. And actually, this gives us a really nice confirmation of that we know how far the struct goes, and by extension, how far it goes in the other direction. Because you can tell exactly the point at which it chopped off, because there should be this much string in here, and obviously it's not. So the struct definitely goes this far, which is what we thought. This just confirms that it does go exactly that far, and that also means that we kind of guessed, I mean, educatedly guessed the front end as well, which would be this part. So that's nice, I like that. I'm pleased. I'm delighted. I've never been happier in my life. And that also means that we have some confidence about the header going as far as it did, which is great. So we can say that I am curious. Hold on, I'm just pulling up. Oh, hold on, I'm just belching. I'm just pulling up my actual thing here. I'm curious if this first number ever changes. Well, while we're in here, let's execute the BT. This is just a different version from regulation 100. I don't know, this might be the same one I was just looking at. Let's check from regulation 120. How about that? Well, I assume the data is different, but the size is the same, and we still have the same junk at the end, but, you know, same logic. It's definitely, well, what, 2.9 ECO? Yeah, that's the same thing. I guess that just indicates that they didn't add or remove any parts. They just tweaked the numbers between regulations. Or maybe they didn't change it at all. I don't actually know what this file does, so it's entirely possible that it never changed. I don't know. Whatever. Not that important. Oops. I've accidentally closed a file that I didn't intend to. Please don't hack my deep file systems by looking at my paths there. Thanks. So, you know, what is this first integer? I don't know. It's always 0. So it could be, you know, it could indicate a version. Or it could be format flags that are not used, or it could be literally anything, in fact. Now you have to ask yourself, why is there so much room at the end here? Like, it would be very clean for it to just be 2.0. But we've got this one here, which, you know, you can explain by just being padding. We got all these. Why are those there? Is it just to leave some space in case they need it? Or are there unused part types that could be in here but just aren't? I don't know. But that's why you assert things, because if there ever was anything here, you would want to know. Because if you just said, this part isn't used, I'll just skip over it, and then you find some example from some other version or whatever that does have counts in there, but you didn't make sure there was nothing there, then there'd be, you know, some stuff at the end of the file that you're just not preserving and you're not even noticing. So assert everything all the time, okay? Or I will destroy you. Now, of course, now we get to the part that is fun, and I'm not going to do, because I don't care that much. You know, all of this is like the meta structure. Now we get into the actual nuts and bolts, which are, you know, very relevant to people who are actually playing the game and who want to do anything with this file. But I am neither of those things, so I don't care. So I'm not going to bother differentiating this stuff, because I think we have demonstrated, at least to my satisfaction, that the bottom stuff here is variable per type. And you can see, like, we can see this one has a wep arm default. It's got another string in it. It's very cute that they made all the strings fixed length. You don't see a lot of those typically. So, you know, whatever's in here is going to vary from type to type, and you'll map it out and fiddle with it, and I'm sure have a delightful time. But I would hate to take that away from you, so I'm not going to do it. What I am curious, just, you know, we figured all this out. We. Who's we? Rumpf. Figured all this out by just eyeballing it, and it, you know, bore out perfectly well. I am curious if there's a less stupid way to do it. If there's any actual indication. Because, like, if we do take it as a given that this block at the beginning is some kind of common info, might it perhaps indicate the length of the structure? I mean, there's no reason that it needs to, because all this is fixed, obviously, and the engine would just know what to do with it, so it doesn't really need the metadata in the file. But, you know, sometimes things are nice to you, and you get that. So what I want to look at is I just want to take a moment to examine what we have here. So what I've pulled up here is the longest, I believe. Oh no, C4 is actually the longest. Maybe a better way. No, let's do this. Let's look at the Fs, which have 2.4 of type data, whatever it is. So we got a couple A's. We got and the one immediately preceding the E's, which would be this one, have a. Oh, I'm noticing that there's A's at the end and A's at the beginning. I'm sure that means nothing at all. Hopefully. Although, well, okay, I was thinking like maybe these are an index of some kind, but obviously 3223 is way too big to be an index in any of these lists, even in all of them put together, so no need to worry about that. But let's see. So this one should be smaller by a little bit than this one. You know, because obviously we've determined that the type data here is 2.4, but even if the length is indicated, it might be like the length of the type data, or it might be the length of the type data and the strings, or maybe the whole thing, including this, whatever this is, you know, so it's not going to be necessarily exactly 2.4, even if it is in here. But you would expect it to be, whatever it is here, you would expect it to be 4 larger in the one that is 4 larger. And I see nothing of the sort. I'm just verifying that. If there's any number that, like, in a corresponding place happens to be 4 larger in this one, it seems unlikely to me that this kind of data would be in here at all. But, you know, it's nice to check just in case. But I don't believe it to be. Which is fine, of course. So yeah, now you just have to... this is like kind of... The first part is figuring out the structure. So now we know the structure. We know how much of this is the header. How big are each of the structs. We know, you know, they're broken up into some sort of header of their own, which does something. We have the nice big string blocks, and we know this part is variable data. So we know where everything is. Now, of course, you need to split it up and, you know, find out, is this an int or 2 shorts or 4 bytes or a float or what? But you know where everything is. The next part is just figuring out what everything is. But, you know, if you get to this point, this is the point at which you can now implement it in C# or whatever. Is, you know, even if you have no idea what any of this means, you know that if you just suck it all up into a buffer and then dump it back out at the end, you're not going to lose anything. So you've kind of, you're at the point where it is safe to interpret and reproduce the file. And from there you can start testing things and, you know, cracking it apart, hopefully, and doing whatever you want to do. But I'm sure that'll be a ton of fun. Ha, 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 ha. Lamo. Oh, well, okay, I was like, huh. Pretty sure I checked if these were afloat. This is number 200,000 exactly. I'm sure that there's no significance to that. Okay, this is obviously an integer, so let me be a little less disgustingly lazy. That is 100% an integer. And why do I put the x here, but I usually use the x when there's some kind of variation, which in this case there's not. So really I should just be a good boy and call this 70. What, well, now I'm curious what some samples of this are. So we have a 3, a 2, a B, could be some kind of enum. A 1, 8. I don't care. Whatever. You'll figure it out. And, you know, for someone who has access to the rest of the game, I'm sure you'll be able to derive some meaning from these values here. They might be like string indexes for what it shows you in game. Now, of course, this next one does not look super inty, but it also doesn't look super floaty, nor does it look especially shorty. So your guess is probably as good as mine in that regard. Could be any great number of things. It's not, no, I didn't think so. Whatever. Whatever it is, if you can't figure it out, you can always just ignore it. I mean, not ignore it. You can always just save it and write it back out. Don't ignore it, but you don't have to know what it is. You just have to know that it's there. That's the important part. Okay, bye.